Hi there, you're watching Your Trades on ET Now, and over the next half an hour, me and Snehisha will help you make sense of the day gone by in trade, help you understand which stocks were buzzing away in trade and what was really the reason why. But let's also take a look at what the markets really did. And firstly, when you take a look at the Nifty, of course, we did see a little bit of weakness come in, especially around 11 a.m. That is the kind of move that we saw, at least when the Nifty is concerned. Of course, we closed above that 25,000 levels, and those are the kind of levels that we're looking at, but lots of sectors that we were keeping on our radar as well, and it was a sea of red, Snehi, right?
Absolutely. Well, you know what, the sell-off, in fact, on these trade that we have seen today as well, over the last week entirely has continued today as well, because Nifty has closed at around a 1 month low level, below that psychological mark of 25,000 and even below 24,800. In fact, 24,795, almost at the lowest point of the day, is where we've shut shop for Nifty. Sensex has also moved in tandem with the Nifty, almost 0.6% downtick coming in on that front. If you could just have the intraday charts pulled up of Sensex as well, there you have it. But the real losers today seem to be the broader market, because no show of support and in fact underperformance coming in from the broader markets with respect to the benchmarks. You have Nifty mid cap that was down almost 2%. Nifty small cap, the real loser today, more than 2.5% downtick coming in on that front as well. But like Shansi mentioned, if you take a look at the sectoral gainers and losers today, IT is the only sector that held on to some gains, 0.5% uptick coming in on that front as well. Remember, this is the week where we kick off the quarter 2 earnings season, and we will be doing that with some very significant Nifty IT companies, and the updates have been looking good so far. It's shaping up to be a good quarter for Nifty IT, and that is why 0.6% uptick coming in on IT as well. But however, what did not do well today was the entire PSU basket. You had energy that was tanking, PSU stocks did not do well at all. Media, FMCG, realty, autos, all of these counters were deep in the red today. However, if you take a look at some handful of top gainers today, Finolex Industries, CG Power, AstraZeneca, Blue Dart, Natco Pharma, all of these did well. Macrotech Developers was one to watch out for, because good quarter 2 updates coming in. That stock was also in the green today. However, it was Titan that was one of the big losers today, on the back of a mixed quarter 2 update coming in rather, and brokerages also have mixed views coming in on Titan. That stock has closed by lower by 2.2%, but we'll talk more about Titan in the show as well.
Well, absolutely. Just to select a few stocks, especially from the IT pack, just holding on to that shade of green coming in. When you take a look at some other counters though, you did have a host of all of these counters, the likes of Ola Electric, that were under a lot of pressure. Now, of course, Ola CEO Bhavish Agarwal and comedian Kunal Kamra got into a war of words, and that war of words cost the stock a little bit of a shock coming in, or a lot bit of a shock coming in. When you take a look at that chart over there, 8.3% downtick is what you're seeing when it comes to Ola Electric. Now, of course, the EV firm also continues to lose its market share, and that is something that we're seeing play out in the Indian EV market, and as well as Ola Electric specifically, because there's, of course, rising competition, crippling service centers also that are keeping the company in the spotlight as well, along with this war of words that has put pressure on the stocks, like the stock like you can see on your screens as well. Then, of course, there's Criscap that eyes a controlling stake in Theobroma, and that's the word coming in from sources. This is what sources have told your channel, because the proposed acquisition of patisserie and bakery store chain Theobroma is drawing closer to completion. There's Chris Capital that is going to be putting a binding bid to back its proposal to acquire Theobroma, and on the back of that, exclusive, of course, that is something that we were looking at very closely. And speaking of source-based stories, of course, there's ET report that also talked about the Adani Group that has begun talks to acquire the Indian cement operations of Germany's Heidelberg Materials. Now, this is something that we were looking at very closely, because when you take a look at the stock as well, let's also try and get that on your screen as well. Now, Heidelberg Cement is the one that I'm talking about. The company has also issued a clarification and said that it is unaware of any such development. And in the last few minutes of the trading session, you did have that clarification also come in from the company. On your screens, you do have Heidelberg Cement stock buzzing away in trade is what it was doing, Snehi.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are some of the pockets of positivity that we've seen in today's market momentum. But well, yes, Nifty is on course to log its longest losing streak in about a year. Let's see if this continues tomorrow, and let's understand better what moves we can expect from the market for the rest of the week. And to decode that, we're being joined by Rajesh Bhosle, technical analyst at Angel One, on the show. And Rajesh, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us at ET Now today. Give us a quick sense of what to make of the market momentum, because you also have broader markets that are not showing any support. You have Nifty that is continuing to tank down, now today even below 24,800. So give us a sense of what levels we can expect to watch tomorrow, and how long do you think this correction is set to last for us?
Hey, thank you for having me on your show. First of all, I'll tell you that Nifty has corrected for the sixth consecutive session, and from the higher levels, we have erased more than 1,500 points. With this, if we see the early indicators, it's in a deep oversold zone, and both the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty has reached around its September swing lows. So this is not the point where one should enter in fresh shorts. In fact, we expect that in the next couple of sessions, market may somewhat hit a near-term bottom and may move back towards 25,000, 25,200 levels. So we sense this is not the level to go short, where one can go look to accumulate good stock at these levels.
Right, so that's the view coming in from Rajesh about the market as a whole. But Rajesh, which are the sector-specific picks that you have? I see that you do have pharma that you're keeping on your radar, and something from the consumption space as well. What is your rationale behind this?
See, if we see the counters, we'll go more on the defensive side, because if we see the broader markets, the selling is very aggressive. So we'll go with the stocks which have shown relative strength. And when the market performs from here, they will outperform. So go instead of going on aggressive high beta counters, we'll focus on those counters. Those are showing relative strength and are defensive in nature.
Okay, but Rajesh, could you be a little stock specific and tell us about what exactly are the picks that you have picked out for our viewers?
Yeah, so my first pick is on the ITC. If you see, as compared to what the broader market has seen the selling in last couple of weeks, ITC is stagnant around the 500 and 520 levels. If you see today, it took support on the support of 50 EMA and showed some signs. Also, if we see the if we see the RSI on the monthly and weekly chart, they are positively placed, and the daily RSI is somewhere around 40. So it's a multiple time frame analysis where the higher time frame is positive, and we are buying it on time-wise correction. So we sense 499 is a very good support for the ITC, and once the market shows some strength, this stock can move towards the levels of 530. My second pick is Natco Pharma. If we see today, the stock formed a Morningstar candlestick pattern on its 89 EMA. That is a very strong formation with a huge volume on the daily chart. Along with that, if we observe the RSI, it is showing positive divergence in the oversold zone. So the way it has holded on to its key support, we expect Natco Pharma to perform well from the coming in the coming session. One can buy Natco Pharma for a near-term target of 1510. The stop loss can be kept at 1344.
All right, so there you have it, Natco Pharma as well as ITC, those couple of buy recommendations coming in from Rajesh. Rajesh, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us today. Let's get you some more important commentary then. And we also caught up with Vikas Khemani, founder Carnelian Asset Management, who's positive on manufacturing as a theme. Now, he also believes that the banking space is set to perform well. Let's go across and listen in to find out which sectors he's really bullish on.
Manufacturing continues to remain very promising. Of course, idea is to avoid the fads and excessively valued stocks, but within that basket of I think we're finding very interesting plays within the specialty chemicals play, which has corrected a lot. We're finding interesting plays in auto hanks. We are finding interesting plays in other manufacturing stories. Pharmaceutical looks pretty good. Within consumer space, with the manufacturing background, we have picked up few stocks looks pretty good. So banking has corrected a lot. in my opinion, has consolidated. Banking is here to stay. Banking, in my opinion, no economy can grow without banking doing well, and our banking is one of the good shape. So when the chips are down, when the stocks are not doing well, that's the time to kind of take exposure on that. So, frankly speaking, the theme and story remains really same. Idea is to whenever markets are kind of not liking a particular sector and theme, that is the time when you got to look at very, very interesting, solid companies, because that's where you find your risk reward very favorable. And some of the names which I mentioned, are offering of some of the segments I mentioned are offering those risk reward right now.
All right, that's the word coming in from Vikas Khemani. But on that note, before we continue to talk about the market action today and all the big gainers and losers, we'll slip into a short break. You stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi there, welcome back to Your Trades on ET Now. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Let's take a look at what the derivative space today has shaped up to be. And in fact, looking rather bleak and not much of a surprise coming in on this front, because if I take a look at the October expiry coming in, we're seeing some short build-up being created both on Nifty as well as Nifty Bank. And given the way the market has been performing, it actually does not come as much of a surprise. If you take a look at India Wix, however, we've ended the day around that 15 level after quite the significant spike coming in, almost a 7% spike coming in India Wix today. And if you take a look at the active calls and puts that we're seeing for the expiry this Thursday, you have levels being spotted around 25,000 and 25,100. This is where we are seeing some call writing taking place, which makes 25,000 your next resistance level to watch out for. In fact, and slightly higher, roughly 200 points higher from where we have closed today. So that's going to be quite the journey for Nifty to scale up to. And if you also take a look at active puts for the expiry coming this Thursday, 24,800 and 24,700, we've seen some mild put buying happening at these levels as well. So as of now, a support level is rather bleak to predict, but resistance being seen somewhere around that 25,000 mark. Let's see if the week ahead holds for some positivity when it comes to Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank.
Well, absolutely. And let's move on. Let's move on and take a look at Ola Electric and see what that was doing in trade, because the stock was down and out. Ola CEO Bhavish Agarwal and comedian Kunal Kamra were engaged in a heated spat after Kunal Kamra flagged the service center situation of the company's electric scooters. On your screens, you can see a snippet of those tweets as well. The argument began when the comedian posted an image showing a large number of EV scooters being parked at an Ola service center, and that was something, that war of words was something that was really weighing on the stock, and really heavy 8.5% cuts coming in for Ola Electric stock. But let's also go across and listen in to Sandeep Sabharwal, asksandeepsabharwal.com as well, and get his view and see what he had to say then about the two-wheeler company.
I think it's going to be a tough space for them because they got in at a time when the legacy players were not serious about this business. So they did take up a market share, but then they did not, as the customer, I don't use Ola, so as two-wheeler, so I don't know myself. But I think from whatever customer feedback, etc., we get, the service standards as well as quality of products have had issues. And then we've had the other legacy players become serious on the business, and they are gaining market share rapidly. On top of that, Ola has built up a capacity anticipating a continued, let's say, 50-100% kind of growth. So to that extent, they have huge capacity and their demand is not keeping up. So that again is a point of concern. So it's been my long-held view that as legacy players like Bajaj, TVS, Hero, etc., become more serious on this business, the customers will want to buy these brands rather than standalone brands because they trust these brands. And I think over the next 2-3 years, my expectation is that the legacy players will capture 80% of the market of two-wheelers and the others will be left with just 20%. So in this context, I find no value in Ola Electric stocks. I think it could fall substantially from there.
Okay, so that's everything that was surrounding the entire performance and the market pressure we saw on Ola Electric today. But let's talk about a quarter two update trickling in. We've seen a lot of those coming in over the last week as well as today. But the one I want to specifically talk about today is Titan, because actually not a very bad quarter two update coming in. It was a rather mixed bag coming in for Titan this time around, because you have the jewelry business that did very well. However, there was some pressure coming in on the eyewear segment. But let's quickly touch upon what the quarter two update looks like. Overall, there's been a growth of 25% year on year for quarter two. They've added 75 new stores as well. Jewelry segment up 26%, watches and wearables up 20%. It was eye care that saw a growth of only 6%, and that is something that haunted this stock slightly on the street today, because the stock ended the day 2.2% lower, and emerging business was also up 14%. Now let's quickly visit what the brokerages had to make of this quarter two update that Titan reported a couple of days ago. And Investec has maintained their hold rating with a target price of 4,100. They say that the weak studded mix may dent margins when it comes to the entire jewelry segment, and watches and wearables have done well when it comes to the analog segment. Eye care has lagged compared to the overall company growth, and they expect to see double-digit growth across businesses when it comes to their emerging business segment. Moving on, let's also take a look at what Macquarie had to say. They maintained their outperform rating and match the target price to that of Investec, because the target price here also is 4,100 rupees. And Macquarie says that the commentary looks healthy before quarter two numbers come out. The pre-quarter two update is in fact better than what they were estimating. The jewelry segment has beat their estimates as well. Watches growth to offset eyewear, and they also expect 9% standalone EBITDA growth in quarter two. Lastly, very quickly, let's take a look at what Citi had to say. And Citi has maintained a neutral with a target of 4,110. They say that the increase in gold price versus the decline in diamond price is going to be a factor to watch out for when it comes to the jewelry business. But other than that, we also interacted with Abneesh Roy of Nuvama to talk more about Titan and understand what we could expect from the quarter two earnings as well. Let's go across and listen in.
The stocks have corrected because generally how markets behave is sell-on news happens. Now the updates are out, so no more positive surprise in terms of sales is there. On the margins front, there will be pressure because studded has grown much slower than the gold, and that always happens when gold has seen so much of inflation in terms of pricing, and diamond on the other hand has seen disruption from lab-grown diamond. Second, of course, is post the duty cut by the government. We have seen that first 45 days after that, there was a huge pent-up demand which came back. The issue is now the gold price is back and in fact above where it was before the rate cut had happened. So if before the duty cut, the volumes were slow, the footfalls were slow, I think now we are back to normal. But yes, going ahead in H2, the number of marriage days is very strong. So that should help.
All right, then moving on, let's keep it going with the second quarter updates that were trickling in. So let's also take a look at Macrotech developers as well as Godrej Properties. And when you take a look at Macrotech, of course, you're looking at great numbers coming in. And if you take a look at the stock as well, the stock was buzzing away in trade, closed with, went home with a gain of about 1.3%. When you take a look at Godrej Properties, though, on the flip side, you did see some pressure coming in on the stock. Despite the decent set of Q2 updates, we also have Sharad who's standing by with all of those important details when it comes to Macrotech as well as Godrej Properties.
Well, as the Q2 numbers are out coming in for the realty players, at first we are having Macrotech developers where a strong set of Q2 operational update has come. This is the best ever pre-quarterly sales coming in for almost 4,290 crore rupees, indicating almost a 21% year-on-year growth. Also, the company has added 4 projects in Pune and Bengaluru with a GDV, which is a gross development value of more than 5,500 crore rupees. Interestingly, the net debt stands at almost 4,920 crore rupees, and that is below the ceiling of what the company had stated earlier of almost 0.5 times of the net debt to equity ratios. Overall, the collections went past the 3,000 crore mark, jumping in almost 11% on a year-on-year basis. Up next is Godrej Properties. They also delivered the highest Q2 and H1 FY25 bookings. The Q2 FY25 bookings grew at 3% to almost 5,200 crore rupees, and the company has also achieved 51% of its annual guidance, which they had stated for FY25. The bookings in NCR, Bengaluru, and MMR, they grew at an overall basis for the first half of FY25 by more than 60%, coming in at almost 5,400 crore rupees. So largely in line to good set of numbers when it comes to Godrej Properties, and strong numbers for Macrotech developers. And of course, over the last 4 to 5 trading sessions, the Nifty Realty Index has also been on a strong correction as well. So there might be some respite for the realty players.
Okay, so realty is going to be one segment to watch for when it comes to the Q2 earnings. But on that note, let me take it across to my colleague Gaurav, who's here with a quick wrap up of all the stocks that were in focus today. Gaurav.
Well, yes. Let's begin with Natco Pharma, because company had some issues and cases going on the patent cases in the US, and now company has received settlement over the same case. As a result, we saw some uptick in this counter. Next, let's talk about Vodafone Idea, because DOT has now issued notice over a non-payment of the bank guarantee which was required to cover the post-spectrum dues for company. As a result, we saw a sharp downfall in this counter. Next, let's talk about Bharti Airtel, because now company has business partnered with Fortinet, which will together launch Airtel Secure Internet, which will be a next generation secure connectivity solution for enterprises. As a result, we saw some uptick in this counter. Up next, we have is some counters which are buzzing on the back of the Q2 updates. So first, let's talk about AU Small Finance Bank. We saw a strong set of numbers registered from this bank. When we talk about deposits, there we saw 12% increase on a sequential basis, while advances increased almost by 6%. Let's not forget that the CASA account actually increased almost by 11% on a sequential basis. As a result, we saw some uptick in this counter. Next, we have is Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, and when we talk about the numbers, advances and deposits actually increased at a healthy level. But when we talk about collection efficiency in the microfinance and micro banking segment, for Q2, this was reported at 92.3% versus what it was at 96% in Q1. As a result, we saw some pressure in this counter. So definitely watching out on all these counters on the back of the pre-quarter updates as well as the news flow that we have received today.
Alright, then there you go. So that was a list of stocks that were buzzing away in trade. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Your Trades on ET Now. From me, Shreyanshi Singh, Snehi Shah, as well as the entire team that put this show together. Thank you so much for tuning in.